Once upon a time, there was a young man named Oscar. Sadly, Oscar had a terrible illness that made him very weak. One night, in his car, Oscar felt very sad. He called his friends to say goodbye. But when he saw the names of his old girlfriends and his best friend Ben, he stopped. Oscar thought he should see these special people in person. Meanwhile, far away in America, Ben was talking to a pretty lady at his bar. Ben was known for being very charming. Many women liked him very much. Suddenly, Ben's phone rang. It was Oscar. Ben was surprised because they hadn't talked in a long time. Oscar told Ben about his illness. He asked for Ben's help with something important. Ben was shocked but agreed to help his old friend. A few days later, Ben flew back home to see Oscar. When they met, Ben tried not to cry. Oscar looked very different now. But Oscar was so happy to see Ben. They talked and laughed on the balcony like old times. Ben asked Oscar what he wanted to do. Oscar said he wanted to return something to his ex-girlfriend, Alice. He couldn't drive, so he needed Ben's help. Ben was surprised by this simple request. That afternoon, they drove to Alice's place in Oscar's father's old car. They played some of Oscar's dad's old radio shows in the car. When they arrived, Oscar asked Ben to go inside first. He thought Ben would be good at talking to Alice. Oscar gave Ben some food for Alice and said, "Don't tell her I'm sick." He didn't want Alice to worry. At first, Alice didn't want to see Oscar. Ben got a bit angry. He told Alice this might be her last chance to see Oscar. Finally, Alice agreed to meet Oscar. That night, they met at a cafe. Oscar wore a wig so Alice wouldn't know he was sick. They felt a bit shy at first. Oscar gave Alice her old bag back. Suddenly, Alice started crying. She told Oscar she still loved him. Oscar tried to comfort her. He said Alice was strong and would be okay without him. Before they said goodbye, they danced one last time. After meeting Alice, Oscar told Ben he wanted to see another ex-girlfriend named Nina. Ben got upset. He thought Oscar should focus on getting better instead. But Oscar explained why this was so important to him. Oscar's father had also died from the same illness. Oscar regretted not seeing his father at the end. He didn't want to make the same mistake. He wanted to say goodbye properly to everyone he cared about. Ben agreed to help, but only if Oscar promised to get treatment afterward. Oscar said yes. The next morning, they went to see Nina, who was filming a movie. Nina was an actress now. She was having a hard time with her scene. Oscar wasn't sure how to talk to Nina. Ben had an idea to help. He distracted everyone so Oscar could talk to Nina. At first, Nina was not happy to see Oscar. Oscar congratulated her on her success and apologized for not supporting her dreams before. He gave her a trophy to show she was his most special ex-girlfriend. This made Nina remember when they broke up. She got angry and threw the trophy. But after Oscar left, Nina put all her feelings into her acting. Oscar was glad to see Nina one last time. He felt better knowing she was doing well now. That night, Ben took Oscar to a bar to cheer him up. Oscar told Ben it was time to stop playing around and find someone special. While they were talking, Oscar suddenly felt very sick. Ben quickly took him to the hospital. Seeing his friend so ill made Ben very sad. The next morning, Oscar wanted to leave the hospital to see his last ex-girlfriend, Ruby. They went to Ruby's house, but she wouldn't come out. She was crying inside, saying it was too late. Ruby was married with children now and didn't want to remember her past with Oscar. Ben understood and they left. That night at a hotel, Oscar listened to his father's last radio show. He remembered how he felt when his father was sick. Now he understood how his father must have felt. The next day, they visited Oscar's father's grave. After saying goodbye to his father, Oscar deleted all the numbers in his phone except Ben's. On their way back, Ben suggested they visit his childhood home. Oscar agreed, curious to see where his friend grew up. When they arrived at Ben's old home, Oscar was surprised to see it was a fancy hotel. But Ben looked sad. He told Oscar about his past. His mother had married a rich man and pretended Ben was her brother, not her son. To cheer Ben up, Oscar asked to try Ben's special drinks one last time. At the hotel bar, Ben made drinks inspired by Oscar's ex-girlfriends. Then Oscar asked for a drink inspired by Ben's most special ex-girlfriend, Prim. Ben remembered when he first met Prim at this bar. They fell in love and planned to move to America together. But then something went wrong, and they broke up. Oscar listened to Ben's story and felt guilty. Oscar confessed that he had known Prim too. He told Ben how he had tried to win Prim's heart but failed. Oscar had lied to Ben about Prim having a new boyfriend. He regretted causing Ben so much pain. Ben was very upset when he heard this. He told Oscar to leave and never come back. That night, Ben flew back to America, feeling betrayed by his friend. 3 months later, Ben's mother came to his bar in America. She gave Ben a phone from Oscar and told him Oscar had died. Ben was shocked and sad. His mother apologized for not being a good parent. This made Ben forgive her. He decided to go back to Thailand. On the car, Ben listened to Oscar's last message. Oscar thanked Ben for being his best friend and asked him to be happy. He also asked Ben to visit Prim. The next morning in Thailand, Ben went to Prim's bar. When Prim saw Ben, she tried not to cry. Ben asked for his usual special drink, just like old times. In that moment, they both knew their love story wasn't over yet.